Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome to the Indian Boxer Ring Exclusive Interview. Today on the guest chair, before I make this introduction on the guest that we have on the chair, I just wanted to kind of set a tone for this interview. Now, dog shows are a unique, what's unique about the dog show is with the payment of an entry fee, the owner handler gets to compete directly with a professional. Now, I can tell you categorically that there is no organized sport that you can do this. Now, the owner handler in this process of competing in the dog show ring, along with the professional handler, is competing against somebody who has dedicated his, or in some cases, her life to this sport, having spent a lot of years apprenticing to learn about this trade. Now, yet the amateur handler or the owner handler is actually vying for the same awards, the top honors, along with the professional handler. Now, how do you do this successfully? How does the owner handler do this successfully? Well, that is the reason why I thought it would be good to get the perspective of a professional handler today for the interview with the Indian Boxer Ring. Now, on the ring, on the chair today, not the ring, on the chair today is our guest, is a famous handler from Argentina. And on the guest chair today is Marcelo Mezzadra. Marcelo is an all breeds professional handler who specializes in showing terriers, gun dogs, toys, and working group as well. Marcelo is also widely traveled and has shown dogs across the world in countries outside of course, of South and Central America, in India. He's shown dogs in Thailand, Bangkok. He's shown at the World Dog Show in Italy. Of course, Uruguay being a neighboring country, Uruguay, Chile, and Brazil. And he's also shown in the United States as well. Marcelo, I asked Marcelo, how many best in shows have you won, Marcelo? And he said, well, I'm going to approximately say about 100 best in shows, but he's lost count of that. And I don't blame him for that. When you win so many best in shows, it's so difficult to keep track of it. Marcelo counts his memorable win as winning the #1 all-breed ranking Scottish Terrier in Argentina. Now, during this interview, Marcelo will share tips about showing dogs and what are some of the challenges with showing dogs. And this is also a great opportunity for those viewers that are tuning in across the world to ask your questions. So please put your questions under the comments, and I'll make sure that I ask Marcelo those questions. So without any further ado, Marcelo, how are you doing this morning?
Hi, everybody. It's my pleasure to invite me to this interview. This is the first time that I'm doing this. It's my pleasure and great honor to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marcelo. Marcelo, I want to actually, there's a lot of people, again, coincidentally, I just want to kind of start this interview. My first interview with the Indian Boxer Ring, I had the opportunity to interview another famous handler from Argentina, who's actually now actually, I would say, the most successful handler in the United States, Diego Garcia. And he comes from the same country as you are. So we want to actually learn a little. We want to learn a little bit of Latin magic on how you make the dogs look special. But before we do that, could you share with our viewers on how you got involved with dogs?
Yes, of course. Diego is one of the greatest that you mentioned. So he's a great friend of mine also. So since I can remember, there have always been dogs in my house. So first I enjoyed the dogs as a pet, but then my parents took me to see a dog show in Buenos Aires, in a dog show called La Rural. I think was around the 80s. And I remember I always want to be a vet. But when my parents took me to see that particular dog show in La Rural, it changed my mind for completely. When I saw all those dogs very well groomed with the well-known handlers, well dressed, and all the carpet on the ground, it changed my mind for completely. I fall in love for the first moment that I saw that picture, and I said to my parents, I want to do this to, for my whole life. This is amazing for me. So that is the way that I start to get involved with dogs. Then I took a seminar of handling with a guy called Alfredo Palacios, that was a well-known handler from here also. And I start to work with the famous handlers of my country, like Gustavo Ferrari, Mariana Serra Brau, Frances Smith, that she is one of the well-known judges from here, from Argentina. She is a FCI all-breed judge. I have the pleasure to work with them and start to learn with the well-known handlers of my country. And that was a special time for me. But I think you can stop to learn in this profession,
Very true.
You never stop learning. You are learning every day, every time. I think that's the way. But that is what I get involved. What I get involved with dogs.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marcelo. Now, different people learn differently now. And for somebody who is starting new with handling, even with handling, how did you learn? Did you have any mentors that you started with? I know you mentioned a few people, you went to a seminar, but did you have any mentors that you started with? What was their part in helping you, gain your knowledge?
Yes, of course. Like I mentioned before, I think my first mentor was my parents, because they always supported me in my decision to become a handler. So, but then talking about professionally, my main mentor was the guy that I mentioned before, Alfredo Palacios. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was very important to start to work in a dog show with all of those people that I saw when I was a child. I remember to follow those well-known handlers, asking a lot of questions about what they use that product, or why they move the dog like that, I think I blew their minds, But I start to work with the well-known handlers, and then I made my way, because when you are starting, you are full of you want to learn everything. You want to learn everything. Right. You don't want to miss anything, But then you are doing your own way. So that was my best mentors for me, the well-known handlers that I worked.
Let me ask you this question to add to what you just said. Now, you being a successful handler that you are, you also have people that help you. You also have assistants that help you, right? To actually to get the dogs, because you're showing multiple breeds and you actually need some help. So when you actually have somebody who's an assistant who's joining you newly, what do you teach them first? What do you teach them? What do you teach them, or what are the things that you actually tell them? Okay, you got to do this first. You got to do this second. So, what are the most important things you teach you as a mentor yourself? What do you teach somebody who's joining you newly?
Yeah, I understand. When we are looking for some assistant, or when the people are coming to work with us for the first time, we are keep an eye on the people that are working with us for the first time, and we need to see and to make sure that people love love a lot the dogs.
Mhm.
If they are not having that feeling, it's impossible that work with us. You know,
Mhm.
we have a great assistant with us that is an amazing girl that
Mhm.
she has a lot of love for the dogs. She's Erica, and Erica worked with a lot of passion with us. And I remember that she don't want to do, she don't want to know how to manage the dog shows, you know.
Mhm.
So we need to start to teach her from the beginning to do everything. You know,
Mhm.
the way you touch the dogs, when you put the dog on the crate, when you are drinking water to the dog, when you are feeding the dog, how to do everything from the beginning.
Mhm.
So,
Very true.
but that the most important thing for us is to see if the assistant that we are teaching is a great lover of dogs.
Wonderful.
If that people doesn't feel that love, it's
Mhm.
impossible that work for us, because we are very obsessive with our
Mhm.
work. We like to do, most of the time we like to do everything. It's very difficult also for us to pay for an assistant, because
Mhm.
we want to make sure that people love the dogs.
True. Very true. Absolutely. I think that's the most important thing. As somebody who wants to be good, or who wants to actually to pursue a career with professional handling, the love for the dogs is most important,
Yes, I
and
think is the
everything
main thing.
comes later. Um, I want to ask you this. Now, you have been showing dogs for many, many years.
Yeah.
What do you like about showing dogs?
For
What
me,
makes what
yeah,
makes you? It's like an addiction, right? I don't know, in a good way. It's an
yeah,
addiction in
yeah,
a good
yeah,
way,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
what do you
It's
like about
like,
showing dogs?
yeah. I think it's a feeling. It's a feeling. You have to feel it. That if you don't feel that sensation, I think you can't do it. You can't do it, because I think this is for the whole life. This is
Mm,
this is something that when you start, you never can stop.
right.
You never can stop. So the best for me is to feel that sensation, to the love of the dogs that are given to you, and that you can give to the dogs. Um, I like to play with the dogs. I like to enjoy my life with dogs. I can't imagine my life without dogs. It's impossible for me. It's
Right.
impossible.
Right.
You know?
Right. Absolutely. Very true. I want to ask you a few questions. Again, this interview
Yeah.
is watched by people across the world, and
Yeah.
people are looking to get tips about handling. And some of the people that are watching this interview are very new to the game of showing dogs, right?
Okay.
Now, dog shows, by no stretch of imagination, is easy, right? Because there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that are happening. The preparation before the dog show and the day of the dog show. Uh,
Yeah.
you have about you have many dogs, and it's a new experience for the dog. It's a new experience for the owner handler as well. But I want
Yeah.
to actually ask you this: when you enter the ring, you prepared for the
Yes.
dog. You have a dog. When you enter the ring, what is running in your mind? What is the first thing in your mind when you enter the ring? What is actually on your mind?
Yeah. The first thing, to win. Not seriously. Of course we want to win. Everybody wants to win. But the first thing that I keep in mind is to give the judge the first view of my dog. The first view when we are enter the ring, I think it's one of the most important things. The first view, the first time that the judge look your dog. Because if we can impress the judge in a good way, I'm talking about we need to impress the dogs the way that the dog that we are showing moves, particularly with the balance, with the balance movement, and the way that the dog is about the physical preparation, the way that the dog is groomed. Even if the dog is a short coat, you need to groom your dog. So
Of course.
I think you need to keep all that things. It's about to impress the judge at the first view. For me, the first sight is one of the main things that I keep in mind when I enter in the ring. Then the judge need to check the dog, the movement of going and back, the things of the standards are saying about that breed that they are judging. But the first view, for me, is very important. For me, is one of the main things that I keep in mind when I enter the ring.
True, very true. First impression is always the best impression. I want to ask you a question here.
Yeah.
I heard in watching one of the interviews that handlers, when they enter the ring, continue grooming the dog. They continue grooming the dog. Like, for example, anything with a long coat breed, the handlers keep grooming the dog, grooming the dog, grooming the dog.
Yeah.
They never stop grooming the dog. And the judge is like, come on, you actually, now you have to show me the dog. Stop grooming the dog. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, sometimes it happens because I'm very obsessive with all the breeds that I show. And some of them have and needs a lot of grooming, a lot of work of grooming. When you are showing a short coat breed, it's not necessary, But when we are showing another breed that needs a lot of work of grooming, I am very upset. But you need to keep an eye on your dog and also on the judge. You need to pay special attention on what the judge are doing,
Right.
So,
True.
but that's the way.
True, very true. You got to keep a balance. You can't actually, you can't be grooming all the time. You have to give the judge also the time to examine the dog, right? True, very true.
Exactly.
Absolutely. True. Marcelo, I want to actually ask you this. Dogs are just like humans, and I say this
Of course.
in a particular context. Just like humans could be with different temperaments, a dog can also be shy. A dog can be aggressive. A dog can be outgoing. A dog can be an introvert. It could be a different, they have different mental states. But how do you manage to keep them focused as a professional handler?
Well, everything depends on the dogs, like you are saying. But if you are doing your work during the week, if you know how is your dog that you are working, if you know your dog, the more as you can if you are doing your work and if you know how your dog is, you don't need to get nervous inside the ring or when you are showing him, because you are practicing all that things that you need inside the ring, like to show the bait or maybe a squeaky. You need to keep an eye contact with your dog every time during the judgment, and when you are going to the prayer ring also, you need to go there maybe 5 minutes before the judge start the class or the breed. So you need to be there and be with your dog very calm, very relaxed, and touch the dog in the same way when you are training the dog, just to keep the dog that this is not a competition, this is another training. This is the same that I do during the week. This is that we are doing. This is the same. It's like another training,
Right.
That is my way to do that things.
True, very true. Now I want to actually ask you this. Now you get a dog, which is actually a young dog, right? So you get the dog, which is a young dog. sometimes you get dogs which are, you actually have shown the dog many, as in at least many shows.
Yeah.
But is there can you share some tips on how to keep the dog in the correct mental state for showing? And I'll actually expand on my question. For
Okay.
example, somebody who is learning the ropes, like for example, a dog which does not know what to expect in a ring versus a dog which actually knows what Marcelo is going to want the dog to do, are two different dogs, right? So do dogs get bored? Do actually get when the dogs are doing this many weeks, weekend after weekend, do dogs
Yeah.
get bored? So how do you keep them in the correct mental state for showing?
So, well, uh, when the dogs are competing too much time, sometimes I try, when the dog knows how to do it, when the dog is very well trained, talking about that, I try to give some free days,
Mm-hmm.
some days that we are going just to take a long walks and just to play with my dog,
Mm-hmm.
just to play with them and let them free and let them enjoy the day. Of course, we still working at the physical preparation, but I stop maybe for a week and leave the dog more free,
Mm-hmm.
like if he are not training,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's also to change. If you give, how can I say? It's just like that. It's to give a dog just a short vacation. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
holiday. It's
True,
like a holiday.
absolutely.
Also, I don't used to train my dogs when the shows finish, because I like to give the dogs a free day when the
Mm-hmm.
dog show finish, the day after the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually train my dogs.
Right, right, right. Do you talk to a dog inside the ring?
Yeah.
Because I've seen people actually, maintain eye contact.
Yes.
They never take the eyes of the dog. They talk to a dog. Do you do all of that?
Yes, I do all of that. Yes, I like to do all of that, because that is the way to keep your dog focused on you,
Mm,
and you don't need to. You need to keep that the dog be concentrate just with you,
mm,
just with you. It doesn't care about the environment. It doesn't care about if the people are talking loud, or there are different noises or if there are children running around the ring. You need to be the dog are focused just with you. You don't
mm,
you don't need to give time to the dog to think, well, what happened, or if the dog wants to look to another place. No, you need to concentrate, and you don't need that the dog get boring also,
very true. Very true. I actually have a viewer question for you, Marcello. Um,
Yes.
Now, I'm going to put this question on the screen. This is about
Okay.
baiting a dog, free baiting a dog.
Yeah.
Uh, what is the best time to encourage puppies to bait? Do you have to wait till the puppies are a particular age to start training them on bait, or is that something you start as a puppy?
Yeah, I think you need to start with puppies or an adult dogs also. I like to start, my particular way is to start to train the dogs just playing.
Hmm.
First just playing, because you need to make that it's about the trust that the dog has on you and that you have on your dog. So to make that connection, you need some time to make that things happen.
Hmm.
So I don't like to give bait the first days of training. Then when I know the dog, when the dog start to know me, then I start to give a little pieces of bait. We can use chicken, liver, or whatever that the dogs like. Some cookies, or some little piece of the food that they usually eat. So any dog is particular, and any dog is different than the other, but they react, most of them, of the same way.
True.
So that is the way that I try to start to train the puppies, or even if the dog is an adult. I try to play a lot, try to be friend of my dog. So that is what I do to make that relation.
Got it. I actually have a question. Since you mentioned about bait, since you mentioned about chicken or liver, I have a question here. The question is, do you have your own liver cake recipe? Are you going to share your liver cake recipe with our viewers?
Yes. I don't know if mine, but I can tell you the way that I cook the liver.
Sure.
So first I put water to boil, and I add salt, some laurel leaves, and I like to put a little bit of garlic, maybe 1 clove of garlic, and I boil for half an hour, and then I leave it out, take out all the water, try to dry the liver, and I put on the microwave just a few minutes, just maybe 2 minutes to dry a little more.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I think
that's my recipe. That's my recipe, but I don't think it's mine. Maybe I learned from some other handlers. I don't remember right now, but
of course, no. I think that's a good one, because I think that's the main purpose of these sessions like this, right? Because you're sharing what you know, and how people can use that information is up to them. I've got another viewer question. This is about this is adding to what you said. You said the first impression when you get your dog, the first impression, the judge is looking at your dog. That's the most important thing. So the question here is, how important is the body language of the handler important inside and outside the ring? And do you have any tips on how to act responsibly as a professional handler? Or as a handler in general?
But that question is about, let me read the question. I would like to ask him how important is for him the body language in and out of the ring, and how we will always have to act and pose. Well, I think that the attitude of the body language of our body says to everybody is very important. You need to look. I think most of the time I look maybe, how can I say, arrogant.
Okay.
But it's just the way. It's just a way to show that I feel very confident with me and my dog, and I have in my hand the best dog, and maybe looks like that. Like if I was very arrogant, But it's just a body language. It's just a body language. I need to do this because I feel more comfortable with that, and I feel more secure. And I think that because I think you are a continue, and the dogs can feel what you are feeling through the leash.
True. Very true.
Through the leash, the dogs are very sensitive. And if you feel very secure, very comfortable, and you are feeling like that, or if your figure, your body are giving that impression, the dogs feels the same. The dog feels the same.
Right.
And I think that is very important.
Mm.
That is very important.
Very true. Very true. I think yeah, they can feel what what your mindset is, and you
Yeah,
have to be that mindset before you before you actually enter the ring. Totally get it. My
yeah,
next question to you, Marcello, is now you campaigned a dog for the top honors. You got the number one terrier, number one all breed dog with your Scottish Terrier in Argentina, right? Now
yeah,
this means that you have to travel with a dog, right? When you travel with the
yeah.
dog sometimes might actually eat, sometimes might not eat if it's a fussy eater. How do you maintain the
Yeah.
condition of the dog while you're campaigning a dog? Condition, because as a handler,
Well,
the
yeah,
expectation is, Marcello always brings a dog in perfect condition, right? Because the dog has to be
yeah.
100% condition. How do you manage to maintain that condition?
Well, in our country, in most of the countries in South America, we only have dog shows just on the weekends.
Hmm.
So it's easy to make a routine or a schedule for your dog. And sometimes also the dog's talking about the food of the maintenance of the dog in top conditions. Sometimes when we are traveling a lot, the dog start to lose a little bit of weight. Sometimes we use some canned food or wet food to mix with the food that they usually eat.
Hmm.
It's just to enhance the flavor of the food.
Right.
And but it's it's to put the dog in a system. It's that I call to put the dog in a system. It's to put the dog in a routine.
Mm.
My 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 routine, especially with all the dogs, is to train the dogs during the morning, early in the morning,
Hmm.
and I like to put the dogs on the treadmill when the sun goes down in the afternoon. So I like to exercise my dog on the treadmill just when the sun goes down. But
Mm.
I understand that I can do this because about the systems of our dog shows. But I see that all of the handlers that I saw working in United States, for example, they don't have that time.
Mm.
They need to put the dogs to make the exercise with the bicycle or with the treadmill or with the golf car
Right.
when the dog show finish, because they doesn't have enough time to train the dogs, because they have a lot of shows during the week, at the weekends, and maybe sometimes 6 days: Monday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All the days are showing there. So here in South America it's a little bit more easy, you
Mm.
know, to keep the dog in the top conditions. And I saw also the handlers of terriers put the dog, when the dog finished, put the dog again on the table and try to take off some hair and try to work on the grooming of the dogs that they are showing
Mm.
immediately when the show are finished, because they don't have enough time to do it.
Right.
So it's a
Right.
tough competition there. Here
Mm.
it's a little more easy. It's a little more
Right.
easy to keep the dog in campaign and to keep the dog on the best conditions.
Right. 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 Now, on the same topic,
Yeah,
which is about keeping the condition.
yeah,
What is your best diet, or what is the best diet? I'm sorry, not for you, but I'm saying for the
yeah,
dog.
yeah.
What's the best diet to feed the dog when you're traveling to shores?
No, like I said before, I don't like to make a lot of changes on the diet
Hmm.
of the dog. I usually gave all the dogs the same food that they eat during the week. So that I keep on the cooler is canned food or wet food or you can give them so fresh food. You know, there are also dogs that have a barf diet.
Mhm.
So, but that is very difficult because you need to refrigerate the food all the time. But I give them all the food that they usually eat during the week.
Right, right, very true. Marcelo, I want to actually ask you a question about a dog that you're currently showing.
Yeah.
I know that you are showing a dog, which is a dog which is actually a top winning boxer currently in Argentina, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that dog up on the screen. Um,
Okay.
this
Yeah.
is the dog called as AX. How did could you tell us about this dog? How did you get to show this dog, and also about um, what did you learn about this dog, this boxer? Because I believe this is one of the many boxes that you have shown, but this you've been really successful with that. What
Yes.
can you tell us about this dog, please?
Well, there is a funny story about it because I suppose I'm not the handler of him when he came to our house for the first time, because the owner of Ajax called us because someone has recommended us as a handlers, but most because my wife Laura was very close to that breed, to boxers, because the family of her raised that breed. So she grew up with boxers. So when the owner of Asha, Guillermo, called us for the first time and came to our house, so he opened the door of his car and Ajax came out, and we can't believe what beautiful boxer are are there. And immediately Ajax put the both legs on my shoulders and start to give me kiss. And we think at the same time with my wife, from where did he get this amazing boxer? Because that construction, the strong that he looks, the expression, that kind of head, it was amazing for the first view that we got on him. So then I start. So at that time, that is a particular thing, that at that time my wife was pregnant of my second child, so she can be able to show Ajax. So that is up to me to show him. So Guillermo trusts my work. So for the first show that we go with Ajax, he won the three best in show, the juniors best in show in junior class. He won the three best in shows of that show. And for the first time that I showed him, he started to winning over the champions. He usually won the breed over the adults and all the champions. So he is the responsible that I think he becomes me a handler of boxers, you know.
Right.
So that is, and it's a he has an amazing record here because he is the only boxer in my country that won at the same year number one boxer of the FCA ranking, number one boxer of the Boxer Club of Argentina, the winning of the top 20, and the winning of the national also. All of those titles in the same year. So it's a very special dog for me. Very special.
Okay. Well, we're gonna keep a close eye on that dog for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I want to actually ask you. I want to move on to more questions about handling.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the challenges with showing dogs. I know that Argentina sometimes is very humid, very hot and
Yeah.
humid conditions while showing the dog. Do
Yes.
you have any tips that you would like to share with our viewers on how to manage to keep the condition of the dog in hot and humid conditions?
Yes, of course. We usually used to have coolers, and we put on the coolers ice and water, and we use a kind of towel that is called, you can buy at the supermarket, it's called absorbers or chamois, and you can put those towels or chamois inside the cooler, and then when you are going to the prayer ring to compete with your dog, you can put all of these towels or chamois all over the coat of your boxer and around the neck also, to keep them very cool. And you can put also, when you are going to the prayer ring, also you can put a very big towel on the ground to put the dog over the towel, and put those chamois over the dog and over the neck of the dog. But you need to change every 2 minutes or 3 minutes, no more than that. You need to put again on the cooler to keep fresh, to keep the cool as you can, and put again to the dog, because it's very important to a boxer to see the expression of his head, and to see the dog inside the ring running and doing all the movements without the tongue outside of the mouth,
Right.
So
Right.
you can use also, there are now a little fans with batteries that you can use it also to go and to put in front of your dog or in your back, to keep the dog the most fresh as possible.
Right. Right.
That is the tips that I can give you.
Absolutely. Marcelo, I know that in Argentina, you have outdoor shows, and I'm not sure if you have indoor shows in Argentina as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you actually are showing a dog indoor, right? When you're showing a dog indoor,
Yes.
how do you make sure? I've seen dogs slipping, when they actually move, right? Like, for example, when they're moving, when they don't have the mat, when they have, sometimes the dog can slip in motion. Do you have
Yeah.
any tips on how to actually make sure that the dog is actually gripping the floor? Do you have any sprays or anything that you use on the paws to make sure that they grip?
Yes. Yes, there are some products that you can buy at the pet supply, but if you don't have it, or if you can get it, you can use just a little bit of water, a bottle with a spray, and you can spray on the legs, the feet of your dog. And sometimes here we use a Coke. Sometimes we use Coke because that makes that the dog doesn't sleep on the ground.
Right. Just you mean the Coca-Cola, just,
Yeah.
will actually
Yeah.
make that sticky on the paw, on the paws, so it
Yeah.
actually sticks to the ground. Okay.
It's just to put a little bit. You don't get abuse of that product, You need to
True.
put just a little bit.
True. You don't want the dog to stick to the ground, right? That
Yeah.
it can't
Yeah.
move. You don't
Yeah.
want no too much of Coca-Cola is not good for anybody, not
No,
even the
no,
dogs.
because the dogs start to lick the legs to drink Coke.
Right, of course. Very true, very true. I want to actually ask you this question. What have you found to be the best bait? I know you already mentioned about how you cook your liver,
Yeah.
but while
Yeah.
showing a dog, what have you found to be the best bait or treat while you show the dog?
Yeah. For me, I like to use liver, but you don't need to get abuse of that liver. You need to use just a little piece, just a little piece, just enough to the dog pay attention to you. It's just like that. You don't need to get abuse of that, because I saw a lot of handlers giving to the dogs big pieces of liver. You don't need to the dog when the judge are going to see your dog and the dog are doing that. Like, you need to the dog just give a little piece to swallow very easy, you know. But sometimes I use chicken. So for me, I try to give them just during the week, just one day. I used to train my dog with another bait, with sausages or chicken, and I just liver just one time because they want the liver. They expect that I give them liver at the weekend. So if you are giving all the days when you are training your dog the same food, the same bait, the dogs start to getting boring to eat that.
Right. True. You know? Very true. Exactly. Very true. I know that Terrier is a lot more grooming.
Yes.
Because you have stripping of the Terrier. But thankfully for people that own boxers, we don't have to groom so much. But how important do you think grooming is to the success of the dog in the ring?
I think it's a part of the whole picture that you need to see on your boxer. Because even if the dog doesn't have any groom, maybe can be successful, you know, maybe can win. But I think it's a part when we are putting a dog in the top conditions. You need it's the final touch. For me, it's the final touch for any dog or any breed. You need to do this because it's one of the things that I keep in mind. Like I said before, when I go in for the first time inside the ring, I want that the judge see that I have the best dog on the best condition that I have in my hand. You know, for me, any handler are like sellers. We are selling something. We are selling that our dog, we are selling the idea that the dog that we have in our hands is the best dog. Is the best option for the judge. So it's a part of that, you know.
True, very true.
That is that I think.
True. Now, all the handlers have like a box of grooming supplies. You know, this is the grooming supply that they need to have for a short coat breed like a boxer. What are the must-have grooming supplies? What are the grooming supplies that a handler should definitely not miss to have in the box?
Yes. Well, you need first a clipper. You need a clipper with different blades, different numbers of blades. For a box, I think you need the most that I use is a 10 blade or a 15 blade to finish the ears and the back on the tail. You use I use a 40 blade, and then to finish the work of grooming, I like to use the thinning scissors and also the stripping stone. The same stripping stone that you use on Terriers. Because it gets the impression of when you are finishing the work of grooming, it's more soft, more delicate. It gives a different impression. For me, those are the tools that you can miss.
Right. True. Very true. Now, I want to actually ask you this question.
Yes.
In terms of handlings, you have seen you handled a lot of shows. You know, being a professional handler, you have also seen people show dogs as well. Now, when you think back, when you think back and think, oh my God, I should not have done this. This was a mistake I did. Or
Yeah.
maybe, oh, this is the right thing I did. I should do this again. What are your handling do's and don'ts that you want to share with our viewers?
Okay. Yeah. So no, there are many.
Well, we
the
have
handling do's is first you need to keep your dog very well trained in extremely very well health conditions. So the grooming, like I said, is the final touch. It's one of the part of that, of the whole picture that you need to see in a dog show. So you need to be very respect with everybody inside the ring, outside the ring. You need to be kind with your dog, with your colleagues, and you need to be very kind also with the judges. You need to be very, very respectful with the judge. So the don't things, I think, is you need to pay attention and don't give your dog in excess a lot of food or a lot of water before you are enter the ring, because it changed for completely, and maybe it's a little bit dangerous because it's like a running inside the ring. You not run, but maybe it's dangerous for the dog if the dog eat in excess or drink too much water in excess.
Right.
So you need to be careful about it. You don't need to get boring your dog before competing. One thing that you need to keep in mind, because it happens to me at the circuit of Florida, and I always remember that. You need to keep in your pocket, and you need to go to the pre-ring or during the show. You need to keep in your pocket every time a plastic bag and a tissue paper, because you don't know when your dog can make some pee or poo or leave some dirty, and you have to prepare for that. Because it happens to me when I go in to compete with a dog to the ring and start to make poo. The AKC rep came to me and said, "You need to clean that right now." And I said, "I don't have here. Is that your problem? If you don't have it, came here with an assistant that can clean the dirty of your dog."
Right.
That is very important. That is very important also.
Right. Have you ever gotten into trouble as a handler? I've seen handlers throw bait. They actually, they want to get the dog's attention, the silhouette, so they throw the bait.
Yeah.
Right? They throw the bait in front of the dog. Some judges don't like it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Have you ever gotten into trouble like that?
No, not a trouble. I can tell that it was a trouble, but sometimes when we threw the bait outside the ring, maybe you can put the liver on the head of somebody that is outside the ring, and somebody tell, "What are you doing, man?" But when you see that the judge doesn't like that you do that, you need to change the plan, and maybe to just to show the dog some squiggy that you need to keep on your pocket also. You need to change the plan. Sometimes you need to change the things according to the things are happen inside the ring.
Right.
But
I want to actually ask you this. Sometimes the dogs, you said, you train the dogs with a
Yes.
particular, not with only with a particular leash, but also with a particular stiffness. The leash is actually either a tight leash or a loose lead. Now, let's say, for example, Marcello, you train a dog with
Yeah.
a tight lead, and there are certain judges who will actually tell you, no, 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 just let the dogs on a loose lead. I want to see the dog
Free.
move in the loose
Yeah.
lead. Have you ever had,
Yeah.
how do you change? How do you actually customize? The dog is trained to show at the best on a tight lead. But if the judge
Yes.
on the day of the show tells you, oh, you got to show the dog on a loose lead, how will you change?
Well, that things can be well, or sometimes are getting worse, because I remember once one judge give me uh, a bit on my hand
Hmm.
because he wants to show the dog like free without the leash, like if the dog doesn't have a leash. So with some dogs you can do it, but some dogs are very temperamental and have a lot of character, and they are so strong that you train the dog, but sometimes because you train the dog for the dog moves in a particular speed. You train the dog because you know how your dog looks better on that speed. But when the dogs are doing this, I think it's because the judge are very smart and wants to see maybe the fault of the dog that you are hiding, you
Mm.
know, because we have the ability to hide the faults that our dogs have, because we know very well the things that they are good on the dogs that we are showing, and the things that they are not so good.
Right.
And we know how to train and how to hide those kind of faults. But
Mm.
sometimes the things can happen, and you can't do anything. You
Right.
just
Right.
need to pay attention to the order that the judge are giving to you, and you can't do anything.
True. Agreed.
Sometimes you can change the way, if the dog have if the dog wants to run, for example, if you leave him free, sometimes you can use the lever, or sometimes you can use the squeaky to show the dog, to keep your dog close to you, and don't let the dog start to run when
Hmm.
you lose the leash. But you can't do a lot of things with that. You can't.
Right.
You
True.
can't.
True. Agreed. Right. That's very true. Um, Now, I know that some handlers, again, you are a very successful professional handler. How does one, if somebody wants to choose professional handling as a profession,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm just saying professional handler as a profession. So let's say you want to take handling up as a professional. How
Yeah.
does one become very successful? Is it because of the dogs, or is it because of um, is it because of the number of winnings dogs that they show, or is it because of how well they can show a dog? What makes them the most sought out handler?
I think it's a mix of, or there are. It's not just one thing, because I think some people calls you because you are a great winner,
Mm-hmm.
because they like the way you put the dog in a top conditions, or they want you as a handler because you are always put the dogs on the top rankings.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the most important things is about the backstage of that, because sometimes people doesn't pay attention the way you take care of the dogs.
Mm.
And for me, that is more important than winning.
Mm.
This is the part that some people can't see. And it's very important because you need to be able to our dogs the 24 hours a day, because our dogs are in front of us. Our dogs are first. The necessities of our dogs are first in front of our necessities,
Right.
because we put the dogs to get some nap on the crate, and you need to keep an eye if the dog are wake up and want to make pee or want to drink water, and we need to keep an eye the 24 hours a day for our dogs, and we need to take care very well, and we need to treat very kind with all the love that much as I can, all the dogs that are living or that with us,
Very true.
For me, that part is more important than winning or than the result. Of course, we need the result to the people see that we are a great winners, but you need to take care very, very, very well the dogs that are living to you.
Very true. Very true. I know that you, I already mentioned this. You're actually you're actually campaigning a boxer right now. Actually, and you're actually showing, you're showing a few other boxes as well. But could you share with our viewers the most memorable moment while you're showing boxes?
Yeah, I remember very well. For me, that moment was with the dog that you are showing on the pictures, Ajax, and it was in a show that was here in my city, Rosario, the city that I live. At that time was the national, the pre-national and the national of boxers. And all the boxers, all the best boxers from the best breeders are competing there. And with Ajax, we won the national under the judgment of the well-known judge, Kimberly Meredith Cabana. So for me, that was one of the most memorable moments with that dog. For me, that was very, very, very important for my career.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I wish you many more memorable moments in the years to come, Marcelo, and with boxers again. Now, in terms of okay, so since you handled many breeds, I want to ask you, what is the most easiest breed for a handler for you to show, and what is the most difficult breed for a handler to show, and for you?
For me, one of the most difficult breeds are the small breeds. The smaller the breed is more difficult to show, because you can touch the small dogs at the same way that you touch the bigger dogs. It's very difficult because when we are showing, like, for example, Chihuahua, you need to put your hands or your fingers in a particular way to don't hide the dog. Because if you put the completely hand over the dog, you can imagine that the picture that you are doing to the judge can't see the dog. If you put your complete hands to put the dogs on the table and to put the leg by leg to make the stack or the stay of the dog that you are showing, you need to put the fingers in a particular way. You don't need to use all the fingers that you have in your hands.
True.
So, and when you are showing a small dog that have a lot of hair and a lot of work of grooming, like Pomeranians, also is very difficult. It's a very difficult breed to show. And it happens the same to me. when you need to show a bigger size dogs like Great Danes or Mastino Napolitano, they are very difficult for me. That the both size to the difficult to show dogs. The big size dogs and the smaller dogs are the most difficult for me.
Okay, all right. Where would you put a boxer in there? Would you call a boxer?
I put
an
the
easy
boxer
dog?
in the middle. I put the boxer in the middle of that because it's not the most bigger size and it's not the small ones. It's in a middle in the middle of that.
Right.
I put the boxer in the middle of that.
True. Now I have a question from a viewer. I'm going to put that up on the screen.
Okay.
The question is, how do you keep, the blaze or the white on the dog, and actually keep them, like for example, how do you keep them in the best condition for the show? The white, do you color them?
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
dye them?
yes. Well, what we like to use is here there are some products to put on the leg. You can buy at the pet supplies, or sometimes people use some products from human. But to keep your dog clean, you can use the regular shampoo that you use on all the dogs. And there are some products to keep that white color, to enhance that white color for the show. There are some creams that is called pre-chalk, and you can use a white chalk, or you can use the grooming white powder to put on that particular zones of the body. But it's not difficult to keep the dog in a way in the right conditions of color or the soft skin. You need to pay attention, particularly in boxers at the elbows. You need to put some water mixed with some conditioner, or put some cream or balm on the elbows, and you need to pay attention because sometimes they lose a little hair on that particular zone.
Okay, got it. I want to actually ask you this question. Now, some dogs will actually do very well. You show year after year, they actually go for the top honors, right? At what point do you know that the dog, you have to retire the dog? When do you know that the dog is, okay, I've got to actually retire dog? Let's assume it's not a bitch, it's a dog. At what point do you decide, okay, this dog has had enough? This dog does not, we should retire this dog. When do you make that decision? When the dog is still winning?
I think when you are winning too much and you are campaigning for many years the same dog, you know how your dog is just when you are looking at him or when the dog are looking at you. So if you know very well your dog, you know when is the time to stop to show that dog. And you can note also that the dog start to get boring inside the ring, not in the same way like the years before. So I campaigned a dog, I remember, for 5 years. It doesn't stop for 5 years to compete. And I remember that the last year I said to the owner, the dog doesn't want to compete. Don't compete another year. But the owner decides that he wants to compete again one more year. So I do my job, but I speak with the owner and I said to the owner, this dog doesn't want to compete anymore. He needs to take rest. He needs holidays. He needs vacation. He don't want to do
Right.
this anymore.
Mm.
But it depends the dog. Depends the dog, and depends. Sometimes we can't stop because the owner wants that we still showing that dog. But it's our duty to say to the owner when to stop with that dog.
True, very true, very true. It's important to, it's important. It's good. It's good to go out on a high. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Now I know, Marcelo. I mentioned this in my introduction, and I said that you have shown across in different countries. What is next in
Yes.
store for you? What is next in store for you? Which is the next country you would like to go and show? I know you have shown in India. You spent about 6 months there showing dogs in
Yeah.
India. What's the next country you would
Yeah.
like to go and show dogs in?
Well, maybe our next country. Like I went the last year to the circuit of Florida, and I want to go. I want to go again. Maybe with Ajax. I want to go again to do that circuit and to spend some times there in US, because it's a great experience. Yeah, for me that trips, it means that I want to see another handlers working, another way to work, and you can't. I can't stop learning. I'm learning all the time. I'm learning all the time from another colleagues, another ways to work. There are also always a new products that you can learn how to use it, or there are maybe a different ways to train the dog, or a particular tool that you can use it. Also, is in this profession, like I said, you don't have a roof. You always still learning every day. Maybe our next trip maybe is to go to US to compete there.
All right, excellent. I think I wish you all the best. Do you have any favorite handlers in that you actually currently? Do you have any current favorite handlers who are showing dogs right now?
Yes, of course. I think the best thing is the handlers that admire all my friends, and it's there in US, like Diego Garcia, Esteban Farias, and Hernan Pacheco. For me, are the best. They are the best. They are the best, and it's a pleasure to see them how they work. It's always a pleasure to see how they work. It's
Wonderful.
totally a pleasure for me.
Wonderful. I get down to my last question for you, and thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview, Marcelo. Thank you. My last question to you is, what is your piece of advice to the up and coming handlers and professional handlers and owner handlers? What is your piece of advice to them?
For me, the best advice that I can give is you need to feel the dogs inside of you. You need to feel the love for the dogs. If you don't feel that, try to do another thing. Don't do this. Don't get in professional handling. If you don't need that love for the dogs, it's impossible to do it. If you are doing this, if you try to do this for the money, don't do this. Okay? Don't do this.
Okay.
That is the best advice that I can share.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Marcelo, for your time. And again, thank you, viewers, for tuning in again for yet another interview. And again, I know that I mentioned this before. My first interview with a handler was with Diego Garcia, and my interview next with the handler, of course, is with Marcelo. Of course, I know I did have Dan Buchwald, do a few interviews and He's one of my favorite handlers as well, but my interview was more breed specific than handling specific. But again, thank you so much for tuning in, and look forward to any more of such interviews coming up. We will not be having an interview next week, but we will have an interview on the 2nd of May. Marcelo, any final thoughts before we end this interview today?
Well, another advice that I can share is be kind with everybody, be kind with your colleagues, be kind with your dogs, treat your dogs very well, and be humble, okay? Try to be humble.
Wonderful. On that note, Marcelo, thank you again for your time, and have yourself a wonderful rest of the day. And viewers, have yourself a wonderful day and stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the invitation. It was my pleasure and a great honor to be there and share all this interview with you.